Hi subscribers and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving into the very important topic of, do active funds beat the market, and as such, are active funds worth it? Okay, so rather than just take my opinion on this, despite the fact that I've been in the industry for over 10 years, I'm going to use a couple of resources here to give us a slight input on this. So the first article we're going to look at is from CNBC in 2022. Now, you may have your own opinion of CNBC, but whatever. Let's have a quick look at their article here. You can watch the video here, which just goes in to give a little bit of understanding.
Last week, S&P Dow Jones Indices, which Doug Peterson runs, by the way, released its annual SPIVA report. This is the annual report on how active mutual fund managers are doing against their benchmarks, and the results were predictably dismal. 79% of fund managers underperformed their benchmarks. Over 10 years, 86% underperformed.
Okay, understood. So what we have here is the number of fund managers who are underperforming the market in 2021 was 79%. When you take that up to over 10 years, it's 86%. So over the course of 10 years, according to CNBC's data here, 86% of fund managers have not beaten the market. They've underperformed what the benchmark has done almost for free in terms of buying the S&P 500 ETF or buying a FTSE 100 or buying a MSCI World Index ETF. So you have to ask yourself, unless you think the guy you're working with is in this instance, the 14% over the course of 10 years, you are not going to be better off actively managing or trying to actively manage or using actively managed funds in compared to passive funds. Obviously, you can read this article in a bit more detail. I'm then going to have a look at here. I've done these in order of time as well. So here we have the New York Times, and this was in April 2023. With the odds on their side, they still couldn't beat the market. In 2022, conditions were heavily in the stock pickers' favor, but most trailed the market. This year could look worse, our columnist says. And again, it goes on to say how it's extremely hard to beat the market. As a retail investor, it's very difficult. Now, what you'd think though is, yeah, but the fancy guys and the big offices with the Bloomberg terminals, like they'll be able to beat the market. They do it 10 hours a day, right? No. The majority of them do not beat the market. So what you have to ask yourself is, every time you're paying for active management, are you outperforming the market? The majority of the time, the answer is no. If we look at a third article here from Gin's Global Index, they go on to say here that 94% of US fund managers underperform the S&P 500 over 20 years. Okay, they've extrapolated over 20 years. It's a very long period of time, but 94% of people are not outperforming the S&P 500. But the problem is, over that period of time, you've paid them very large annual management charges to actively manage your underlying portfolio for you. So you're basically paying for the privilege of underperforming the market. We then have a final article here, which goes on to say, what is the success rate of actively managed funds? This is from Advisor Channel, The Visual Capitalist. And they go on again to say here that over a 20-year period, 95% of large cap actively managed funds have underperformed their benchmark. Okay, so we have 4 different sources there from different places, obviously talking about this. So I think I've answered this one very quickly for you, but you really need to understand as a client not to get caught up in the if anyone's seen The Wolf of Wall Street, there's a scene where he talks about keep everyone on the merry-go-round or whatever it is. It's all a fugazi or fugazi. That is the financial world. That is the large part of financial planning. Unfortunately, the majority of people are not holding their hands up and saying, you know what, I can't beat the market. So what we're going to do is we're going to invest you into a low-cost ETF portfolio to track the markets. The majority of people don't do that because they feel scared clients are going to say, well, what the bloody hell are you doing? What am I paying you for if you're just going to track the market? I can go and do that myself. Sure, you can go and do that yourself. But even to start off with, how are you going to track the market? What geographical splits are you going to use to ensure that you have good diversification across the whole world and that you're actually tracking the whole global market? Also, what do you know about Asia? What do you know about investing in China, Vietnam? Can you use passive funds in Southeast Asia? The majority of the data suggests that you actually shouldn't use passive funds in that part of the world, and you should actually use active in certain countries such as China and Vietnam, because it has outperformed the market for certain reasons to do with those type of countries. And obviously I think a lot of it comes down to a little bit of corruption, and in other jurisdictions it's a lot easier to track the market and perform well. So the question really to yourself becomes, okay, do you want to go and do all of this yourself? We have clients here at Cameron James, we give them a free advice report. It shows all the funds we're going to recommend to invest them in. And they joke and say, oh, I could go off and now do it for free. And we say, yeah, you can. You now have our portfolio that you know what we'd invest in now. But that's going to change. It's going to change over the course of time. Here at Cameron James, we're not active managers. We're not buying and selling. Elon said something, so let's buy in the morning and sell in the evening. No. It's ridiculous for retail clients, in my opinion. The majority of people who do that underperform the market again. So what you really need to focus on, and my idea here at Cameron James, is you should be focusing on the areas you can control inside your finances, okay? That comes down to topics such as cash flow planning. Have you done a proper cash flow plan of what is going to happen between now and the day you die? Sounds morbid. You might be in your 40s, 50s, 60s thinking I'm not going to die for another 30 to 40 years. Believe me, I've seen it happen to people passing away and their beneficiaries being left with their estate and things not really being very well organized. If you do a proper cash flow plan, as we do with Voyant, it's expensive. It's $3,000 per financial advisor. A lot of financial advisory firms don't want to use it. In the UK, it's quite common to do cash flow planning. Outside of the UK, most financial advisors don't even know what a cash flow is. They've never done one in their life. Here at Cameron James, all of our financial advisors do cash flow modeling for our clients, irrespective of whether in the UK or non-UK resident. The other areas you can control are you doing your top-ups? Are you making use of your pension allowance if you're a UK resident or you have UK earnings that you can pay in? Are you making use of your JISAs, your ISAs? If you're living abroad, are you in the most tax-efficient structure for yourself of your other assets? How are you going to pass the money on to your family? What is your inheritance tax looking like? What is your inheritance tax planning looking like? A lot of you non-UK residents say, Dominic, I left the UK 10 years ago. Nothing to do with me. No. Domicility, which is what inheritance tax is based on, and tax residency are two very separate things. You can live in America, you can live in France, you can live in Germany, you pay your tax there as a tax resident. When it comes down to domicility though, you'll probably have a big surprise that you will have a UK IHT bill waiting before your beneficiaries will be able to go through the full probate process in order to gain access to your accounts. Are your wills in place? Do you have lasting powers of attorney in place? What's going on with your mortgages? I mean, we're not mortgage advisors here at Cameron James, but these are all areas which can help you understand. So they're all the things you can control, all right? That's like 95% of what you can control. There's other things that you can work on as well. The fund performance is the one area you should stop trying to control. And any financial advisor sitting in front of you singing you all these things about this active, they're going to do this, and they're going to tweak this, they're going to change that, and I'll be monitoring it for you. It's all fugazi, in my opinion, okay? As we've seen here from the data, and you can go and read this yourself online, go and type in whatever you want. Try to find the opposite of what I'm saying, that active management does outperform the market. Go for it. All the data you will find, and the majority of good instances of case studies, comes back as a negative on that. So anyway, I get very passionate about this topic, active versus passive, and I wish a lot more financial advisors would just hold their hand up and say, I cannot outperform the market, client. I'm going to give you good financial planning advice though. And all the other stuff, if you do all the other stuff and you're paying 1% per annum, you are getting the best deal in history. And I know this from looking at our clients, and I know this from each financial advisor at Cameron James is allocated roughly 10 or 12 leads to work on per week. I would say 2 to 3 of those leads every week is a client who's had a car crash. They've gone and done their pension transfer with someone offshore or someone abroad, promised them the world. They've been invested for 10 years and they've had 10% growth, when really they should have nearly doubled their portfolio if they've been investing passively over that period of time. So we know this, we see this. I get for clients though, what you want to hear is, yes, I'm going to outperform the market. Yes, that's what you paid me for, blah, 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 blah. The 1% you pay or whatever you pay to your financial advisor on an ongoing basis should be for real financial planning, not trying to outperform the market, in my personal opinion. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know in the comment section below any experiences you've had with this. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel to let YouTube know I'm doing a good meeting, and stay safe with your UK pension assets.